Hi, and welcome along to AFTV Transfer Daily, the show that keeps you up to date with players that have been linked with a summer transfer move to Arsenal. And listen, it's the final of the Euros tonight, France versus Portugal. Once the Euros are after, it gets back to the real serious business of Premier League football as far as we're concerned over here in the UK. And the focus is really this week going to be on Arsene Wenger, the board, and what they do in the transfer window. Granit Xhaka was a great signing at the start of the window. We thought, okay, brilliant. We've moved early. But since then, it's just been, seems like a catalogue of errors. The whole Vardy thing and that falling through. And then our slowness at the moment to move for the targets that we want has really sort of sent a real sense of frustration flowing through the whole Arsenal fraternity. All the Arsenal fans at the moment very frustrated with the lack of inactivity, especially when it comes to signing a striker. Now, when we read today that the president of Lyon has said that there's been no contact from Arsenal, that sense of frustration starts to build. These are his quotes. Jean-Michel Alios, he's the Lyon president. He's speaking to L'Equipe, the French publication. He said that I've met with Arsene Wenger quite often during the France games at the Euros, but he's not spoken to me about this, which is the Lacazette offer. So I don't think there is something in it. And it seems to me that Lacazette wants to play with Lyon and in the new stadium. He wants a Champions League adventure that is far better than the previous one. I think that he will stay with us, and we are very happy. And that is what he said to L'Equipe, which of course adds to that frustration because, you know, a lot of us have sort of been thinking that Arsene Wenger's been in talks with Lyon regarding it. We heard that he was in talks actually with Lacazette's representative, so it may not necessarily be the president, but you would have thought that he'd be saying to the president, what's the situation? If he has met with him a few times, what's the situation with Lacazette? Are you willing to sell him? How much do you want, etc.? It'd be a great opportunity if the president is, you know, being strictly honest on what, and he's a bit notorious, this guy, for, you know, and obviously he wants to get the best deal for whatever, you know, if he does sell Lacazette, or either that or he wants to hold on to his best player, a bit like with us with Alexis. So it's really frustrating though, because for many fans, we feel that Lacazette is that perfect player that could come in. We know there's not a lot of world-class strikers out there, and Lacazette is not world-class, but could he be that player that you can turn into being world-class? Remember, it's not every single player you buy ready-made off of the shelf. You know, Kante last year, nobody knew he was going to be world-class, but he is world-class. So it's very frustrating to be hearing this, to be seeing a lack of movement from Arsenal in the transfer window when it comes to a striker in particular. And this only adds to it. Alvaro Morata, that again is starting to look very, very, you know, like it's going to be a very, very difficult deal to be done, if it does get done at all. Morata now back at Real Madrid, of course. We were reading from Marca, and of course Marca, the Spanish publication, is seen by many as the mouthpiece of Real Madrid over there in Spain. They've put that Chelsea have had an offer of £51.2 million rejected by Real Madrid. And any deal to bring in Alvaro Morata is going to be very, very expensive. And then you've got to think to yourself, Real Madrid might be looking at it and thinking, we might need Morata here. I mean, they've got, of course, that amazing front three of Bale, Ronaldo, and also Benzema. But what if one of those gets injured, you know? All Benzema and Ronaldo both getting older now. Both of them, of course, have just featured heavily in the Euros. They might be thinking, let's hold on to Morata. Or if they do sell Morata, the other thing we're reading is that they're going to want like £65 million for Morata, which for me, that is way too expensive. He just does not have the goal-scoring record to justify that amount of money. I know he's young, up and coming. I know he scored goals in Champions League finals, but £65 million for Alvaro Morata. I'm sorry, that is way, way overpriced. Which again, then what do Arsenal do? Do they turn to Gonzalo Higuain? Higuain has more or less put it out there that he's not very happy at Napoli, doesn't want to sign a new deal with them. However, he's still contracted to them. And they would want a lot of money for Gonzalo. If Morata's 65 million, and if I was in charge of Napoli, and Morata's being quoted as 65 million, I'm going to be like, well, you know, hey, hold on a minute. My guy's 75, 80 million then. Because look at his goal scoring record. You know, Argentinian international, scored at all levels. So again, that'd be Arsenal willing to pay the mega bucks that it would cost to bring in Gonzalo Higuain? That is the next question. Romelu Lukaku. Again, 60 million plus we're being. If you're a striker and you're banging in the goals, that's the sort of price you're going to get. And especially when you're young, like he is, 23 years of age, 60 million plus. If you want to get him over the line, Romelu Lukaku. Again, not world class, as we saw in the Euros. Very talented, up and coming, but 65 million pounds. Are Arsenal going to be willing to pay that? Janssen, the guy from AZ Alkmaar who banged in the goals last season. Again, great goal scoring record, but we've been told that he's on the verge of signing for Spurs. He is very cheap, but then again, more or less the same type of player as an Olivier Giroud. He's not pacey, he's a finisher. Again, is that a deal we're going to do? Doesn't seem like it. Then there's deals like Julian Draxler. Now, we heard about this one a few years ago, that Draxler was a player that Arsenal were looking at and thinking to themselves, well, hold on, we could turn this guy into being a striker, convert him into be a striker, a la Thierry Henry, and he could be the answer. But again, that's a risk. He's always played out wide. That's where he's been most effective. Would he make a striker? Premier League, very physical. Would he be up for it? You'd be taking a gamble, and a very expensive one. He's got a contract at Wolfsburg till 2020. He's their main man. And if they did sell him, again, they'd want humongous amount of money. 50 million plus easily would be the asking price for Julian Draxler. So who is that striker going to be that Arsenal are going to sign? What striker are Arsenal going to get? Because they need one. The transfer policy on a striker at the moment is muddled. I know it's difficult to find that top-class striker, but have we identified that person? And if we have, what are we doing to try and get him in? And I think that's what we're going to start to find out more about over the next week, because, as I said, the Euros will be finished. The focus will be back on our Premier League. Pre-season is looming in the next couple of weeks. Not even couple of weeks, really. Pre-seasons begin. Arsenal got pre-season over in France. They've got pre-seasons in America, Scandinavia. They want to have the players in. Surely, if it's best practice, get those players in early, get them training with the squad. They may even need to play in the early games at the start of the season, because you think about it, Olivier Giroud, Laurent Koscielny, Aaron Ramsey, Mesut Ozil, all gone deep down into the Euros. They haven't had a rest yet. They're going to need at least 2 to 3 weeks holiday where they just relax doing nothing. Then they're going to have to come back and do their pre-season. They're not probably going to be ready, either of those, for the start of the season. So who plays? I mean, who's going to play? We're going to start the first game of the season with Theo Walcott playing as a striker, Chuba Akpom. Listen, we really need to get out there and start getting our business done. And this is a pivotal week for Arsene Wenger and the board. I think Arsenal fans are waiting, but the Euros have been going on. We go, all right, fair enough, the Euros have been going on, even though it hasn't stopped our opponents from getting business done. But we're waiting now to see what our management team are going to do. And this is a pivotal week. The only sort of good news is about Alexis Sanchez. Confirmed by Juventus that they did put a bid in for Alexis Sanchez of £34 million. And that Arsenal turned it down. £34 million. £34 million for Alexis Sanchez. When I'm talking, some of the players I'm talking about, Lacazette, 45 million. Lukaku, 65 million. Are they having a laugh? 34 million. Anyway, Arsenal rejected it. They said that, Juventus confirmed that Arsenal said he's not for sale at any cost, which is great. But the only thing that worries me, again, 2 years left on his deal. Arsenal need to tie him down to a new deal. Otherwise, Alexis Sanchez will say to himself, all right, I'll stick around. January comes, if we're not doing well or he's not seeing the ambition in the team, everyone's going to come back in for him again because he'll only have a year and a half left on his contract. Or he'll see it out to the end of next season, 1 year left if he hasn't signed a new deal, and then he goes on the cheap again. Come on, Arsenal, get your business done. Guys like Alexis, Mesut Ozil, those guys, I'm sure, want to see some big players, big statement players coming in that shows that Arsenal are ambitious enough to win the league. Imagine, like, you know, they're seeing guys like Paul Pogba being linked to Man United for £100 million. They're seeing that United, who have got no Champions League football, Chelsea, no Champions League football, right? And it's had no effect on them whatsoever when it's come to them trying to buy players. Would that have been the same if it was us? These are the things that worry me about Arsenal right now. And let's see what happens over the next week. I don't want to be too much doom and gloom. It's very frustrating. Let's get into the comments this week, today, sorry. Gonna kick off with this guy here. Fluky Punditry says, Arsenal are not too far behind the others in terms of transfers this window. They've already sealed a great signing and can potentially get 2 to 3 more by the end of the window, which is still open for a good 50 days. Hence, no need for frustration yet. This guy's a very patient guy. I mean, I understand what he's saying. He's right in what he says, but you know what it is, right? It's because we've seen it before with Arsenal. And that's what really, really frustrates us, that we've seen this happen before. We've seen Arsenal not go in there and be, as I always say, aggressive in the transfer market. And then, you know, we've then ended up with not what we want, you know? So, I don't know. Rasta Zarasta says, why can't Robbie get behind the Lukaku train? He always mentions either Lacazette or Morata and seems to write off Lukaku. Lukaku is better than both of them, mate. The next Drogba. You could be right. Listen, I would be, if we got Lukaku, that would please me. I'd be happy with that. I would be happy with the signing of Lukaku. I do think he'd score a lot of goals at Arsenal. He's quick. I still think he's very raw, but I do think he'd do very well at Arsenal. But, you know, are we going to pay that money to bring him in? Let's do this last one here. Ronan Buddy, because, you know, more or less everybody's saying the same sort of thing apart from that first guy I read out. Ronan Buddy says, look at Vardy, we get rejected. Look at Subotic, probably get rejected and go to Middlesbrough. I mean, what's next? Do we go for Brad Guzan? He said, you know, and the rest of it's very explicit towards Arsenal. And I've got to say, that's the general theme of things going on. We need to bring in the players that we need. Let's hope that Arsenal can do it. Just before we go, good luck going out to Olivier Giroud and Lauren Koscielny tonight. Let's hope they bring on the bacon. Let's hope that they can win the Euros for France. So good luck for those two. It only breeds confidence if they can come back by winning that title. So that'd be fantastic for them. But thanks for watching, and we'll be back around about the same time tomorrow.